In 1972, the rain simply stopped falling on the village of Dundaraji. For the Virani family, who relied entirely on a small plot, the drought meant total economic ruin. Their livelihood vanished as the soil turned to dust. The father sold the dead land for 20,000 rupees, handed the cash to his sons, and told them to leave. Chandubhai Virani and his brothers took that pocket change and migrated to the city of Rajkot to start over. They tried to stick to what they knew, opening an agricultural equipment and fertilizer business, but they were outsiders in the city trade. A local supplier sold them a massive batch of fake fertilizer, and within 2 years, the entire business collapsed. The fallout was immediate. Unable to afford their 50 rupee monthly rent, the brothers were evicted in the middle of the night, forced to scramble for urban survival. Chandubhai was a 10th grade dropout. To survive, he took a job at the local Astron cinema. He scrubbed e-receipts, tore tickets at the door, and worked the canteen counter for exactly 90 rupees a month. He spent his days surrounded by towering Bollywood film posters, watching thousands of patrons filter through the doors to see Amitabh Bachchan blockbusters, while he repaired their torn seats for extra food. This 90 rupee baseline was a starting point, not a ceiling. He began treating the canteen not as a job, but as a testing ground for a more reliable model, using the cinema's high traffic to study exactly what people were willing to buy. His first move was securing the contract to run that very same cinema canteen. During the 5-minute movie intervals, he and his family churned out masala sandwiches to hungry patrons at high speed. The sandwiches were popular, but the business had a technical flaw. The ingredients were highly perishable. Anything left over at the end of the night grew mold and had to be discarded the next morning. Unsold inventory directly equaled lost capital. For a family recovering from bankruptcy, discarding daily stock was a financial drain they couldn't afford. Chandubhai needed a product that wouldn't spoil. He identified potato wafers as a solution and began buying them from local suppliers to stock the canteen shelves.
Sliced potatoes fried in oil have a significant shelf life advantage. They don't expire overnight, which meant the daily waste problem was solved. But a new bottleneck appeared. His third-party suppliers were unreliable. Deliveries often arrived late, missing the crucial 5-minute intermission window, or the bags were filled with crushed, broken chips. Instead of negotiating, Chandubhai removed the suppliers from the equation. He decided to take total control of the production process. He built a tin shed in his courtyard, bought a cheap potato peeler, and took over.
After working his shift at the cinema, he stayed up all night, hand-frying the chips himself to ensure they were ready by the first screening. Taking over the frying process removed the variable of outside vendor error. Chandubhai had turned a series of external failures into a self-contained production loop that he managed directly. To grow beyond the cinema, Chandubhai packaged his chips under the name Balaji Wafers and began distributing inventory to local shopkeepers throughout Rajkot. He hit another wall. Shopkeepers would claim the chips went bad to avoid paying, or they would hand him torn, unusable currency notes when he came to collect. His solution was a physical bypass. He bypassed the city middlemen, loading massive sacks of wafers onto bicycles and motorcycles to deliver the product directly to remote villages where demand was untapped. The manual hustle worked. Demand grew so rapidly that by 1989, Chandubhai took out a 5 million rupee bank loan to build Gujarat's largest potato wafer plant. But the new industrial machines constantly broke down, and the external engineers called in to fix them demanded thousands of rupees in luxury hotel and travel fees just to perform basic maintenance. Chandubhai refused to pay. He studied the mechanics of the equipment himself and eventually learned to repair the factory machinery without outside help. Scaling a base step of this model, the backyard shed operation evolved into a 60 billion rupee empire operating across 14 Indian states. A single production node in Rajkot multiplied into a network processing over 1,000 quintals of potatoes daily. As Balaji dominated the western region, it was overshadowed by an encroaching threat. PepsiCo, the multinational giant, moved in, eventually offering a buyout to acquire the company. Chandubhai refused to sell. In response, PepsiCo launched a retaliatory strike, filing a design infringement lawsuit over the specific shape of a deep potato ridge used in the chips. This forced the regional snack company into a sterile, high-stakes legal battle against a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. The court eventually ruled against Balaji, forcing them to completely change their packaging and the design of the chip itself. But the forced redesign failed to stop their growth. Customers weren't buying a logo, they were buying the product. Despite the legal setbacks, Balaji's revenue continued to grow by 25% annually. Today, those machines run with a consistency that makes Balaji a dominant player in the Indian snacks market, outlasting competitors with far larger budgets. Balaji's momentum was based on a decade of building a network that put the product directly into the villagers. Raw persistence had created a market that a courtroom could not dismantle.